Hello and welcome to From the Be All End, the Burnley podcast. This is the rapid reaction for Newcastle United 1. Newcastle United 2, sorry, Burnley 1. Getting a little bit ahead of myself, getting a little bit overexcited. A very strange game up in the northeast. The Clarets, excellent for the first 30 minutes. Much changed lineup from boss Scott Parker. 2-0 down and a man down at half time. Late Zian Fleming penalty to drag us potentially back into it, and then a chance right at the end that goes begging. Got the band back together from Thursday night. Paul Woodhouse and American Martin Parks over the hill in Yorkshire. Woody, let's start with you. I think you gave me a one-word answer when I mentioned performances on Thursday, but a strange but better, more enjoyable performance today, Woody.
Kind of. It was just like all rather weird, wasn't it? There was like certain bits of inevitability. We started off like a house on fire. It was pandemonium for the first 10 or 15, then it settled down and it was like we were just saying, that the lineup came out of left field, but it obviously seemed to be infinitely more attacking, and it seemed like to be a little bit of a sea change in terms of what Parker were thinking in terms of, well, let's have a go. We've tried everything else. Let's see what we can do. But obviously that gets all like turned on its head when Perez gets sent off. And then I zoned out for a little bit. And every time I kept zoning in, we were looking like half decent and giving them a game. And I'm thinking, what are Newcastle doing here? And then to actually feel slightly gutted about the fact that you didn't get a draw at the end is bizarre. So yeah, I don't know quite how to take it. I really don't. It's like good performance, but still that level of inevitability of still another defeat, 6-6.
Yeah, definitely. And Martin, a number of changes. I got blinded by the fact that Mike Trezor was on the bench and missed half the changes. But Perez, who was sent off, as Woody said, for a challenge on the last man, coming in for Quincy Hartman. Ugachukwu Breuer for his first start, and JBL coming in. Anthony Hannibal obviously banned, and I'm sure we'll pick that up on the proper debrief. And somebody else missing as well. I can't even think who else dropped out of the lineup. Zian Fleming. There you go. So much change, Martin. And weirdly, I mean, we got two corners inside the first 4 minutes. Them corners were damn sight better than we've seen in the last couple of days. Was there a moment in that kind of first 5-10 minutes when you thought, Jesus Christ, we could upset the apple cart a bit here?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, congratulations to anybody who predicted that lineup starting the game. Maybe Vincent Company picked it. I don't know. The corners were spot on. The corners were absolutely the antithesis of what we've been doing in the last few games, where you've thought, well, there's no point us throwing it in or crossing it in because we're going to hit the first man and it's going to be dreadful. They were causing problems. Yeah, absolutely. And most of the players that came in and did well. I mean, I know Pires has got sent off. I think he's been a little bit unlucky. He's gone for the ball and he's just been beaten to it, hasn't he? But his corners were great. I hadn't noticed he was playing. I suddenly thought, who's the guy with the blonde hair? I was like, oh, Jesus, it's Pires. And yeah, it was such a shock lineup. And Breuer, we'll come on to talk about later, he's had a decent game. And fair play to Parker. We've accused him of being very safe management-wise, but he clearly has thought, do you know what, we'll go and have a go. And I hope that's his philosophy going forward, because today suggests we might still go down based on the fact we're not good enough. But at least have a go. And if you have a go and you're not good enough, that's absolutely fine. We'll all hold our hands up at the end of the season and go, this was the case. If you just go there and think, oh, we didn't bother even trying in the first place, it's almost pointless turning up, isn't it? So, yeah, a strange game to analyse, but yeah, weirdly enjoyable for a defeat.
Yeah, weirdly enjoyable. We are a bit sadistic, aren't we? We've got
Exactly.
excellent those performances. I mean, let's look at Perez and Breuer. They're the two who we've not seen in a starting berth. Martin touched on Perez there. He kind of has this. I don't know. There's a way about him where a bit like Hartman, I guess. You don't know whether he's that good a defender, but he kind of gives their fullback something extra to think about, and he was certainly doing that, wasn't he? He was getting involved with Brun Larson, and they were kind of teaming up on Livramento, I think it is, down that side for Newcastle.
Yeah.
And he kind of added a little bit of a spark that we perhaps saw from Hartman at the start of the season, but
Yeah.
over the last games, it's kind of drained out of him a bit.
I think, yeah, you're right that both of them have their failings defensively. But I think the slight difference between the two of them offensively is that you've got Perez, who has a tendency to be able to join in on the the inside left track, whereas Hartman tends to go more on the outside, doesn't he? But I thought Breuer, to be fair, that he was arguably the surprise. He's that kind of link up that we've been talking about, isn't he? And he looks for the ball. It's not just a case of like oof it up and like, but he's still got that strength, but he's got that ability to find a ball, and his movement is pretty good actually. So I mean, let's see what we can do with this type of a setup, because I think again they've earned their place as long as they don't get sent off, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And Martin, just on Breuer, I mean, we obviously know there's a player there because he's shown it in the past. He's had his injury worries. I think his performances each time we've seen him as a sub have suggested he will get better. Today, in a really difficult role, especially second half when he's up there on his own, he kind of showed why we were perhaps tempted to pay what we paid for him. In terms of can we coach him to be a better player? Can we develop him? There's definitely something there, isn't there?
Yeah, I think he's been up against some big old centre halves there today, and he's kept going. And there'll be easier games than that. We've got Fulham next. That would be the team that I'd be thinking, yeah, he could definitely get stuck into them. And he was holding the ball up, like you say, Woody, and he did put himself about. He got a yellow at the end. He wasn't just sort of passive, which, you know, we've been accused of a little bit up the top there. And he looks like, I know he mistimed his header towards the end, but he's definitely got a few things about him. You think, yeah, look, he needs a run in the team, doesn't he? We go way, way back. Gareth Taylor, similar kind of player, mostly up in the air, but can play with his feet, but needed that run in the side. Got a run in the side, did well. I'm not suggesting he's going to be as successful because we're at a higher level, but yeah, I was encouraged by that. Definitely, he's definitely a player in there, and more so than I've seen in any of the games. So give him another go. That's what strikers need, isn't it? They need a run of games to get up to speed.
Yeah.
Especially when you've been out as long as he has.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah.
Yeah. We'll come on to Scott Parker to kind of close off the rapid reaction in a couple of minutes. But Woody, let's just have a look at the goals. I mean, the first one is straight from a corner. Guimaraes. He turned around to the adoring Newcastle fans like Christ the Redeemer on Rio, like he meant
George
it.
Boyd.
He kind of, he put it in the mixer, so to speak. Do you think Dubravka better? I know Martin, just before we came on, was suggesting he felt VAR perhaps could have taken a look because of Gordon backing in, but it looked like Dubravka got the flight of the ball wrong, really, didn't it?
Probably. Yeah. I think it's as simple as that, isn't it? As much as anything. Because you always like to. I mean, because he has been extremely good all year with stuff like that, hasn't he? His ability to punch, it's been faultless, really, hasn't it? So for him to unless he's being bunged by Newcastle for some unbeknown reason, and he's playing Agent Dubravka, but yeah, it did seem a weird one, but and so it goes.
Yeah, and it kind of Martin in the build-up, kind of Ekdal give the corner away, kind of not quite unnecessarily, but you could tell he was annoyed that his header had gone for a corner rather than a throw in. It's them little break. I mean, Parker's talked about margins, former manager before he used to talk about fine margins. It's sometimes them little bits, isn't it? Kind of the Ekdal header goes out for throw in, we perhaps don't concede. The second goal is then a handball penalty. Ugachukwu basically puts his hands out, I think, to stop Walter Marder from running into him and almost kind of juggles the ball a couple of times. It's them little bits of decision making, stroke, rubber the green that we're just not picking up at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the Premier League smarts, isn't it? I think Ekdal is unlucky because he's tried to head it out for a throw in and it's just gone the wrong side of the corner flag. You can see in his face. I think yeah, Dubravka does get the flight wrong, but do most Premier League keepers? And I'm quite surprised at him really because he's been in that division before. Would you make a bit more of a meal of the nudge from Gordon? We saw lots of little physical contacts where they were getting the free kick every time, and we weren't. Walker went down in the corner flag. Referee wasn't interested. If he sort of exaggerates that a little bit, does he get a look in, or do we get a little bit lucky? I don't know. We were a little bit naive, but yeah, I mean, Ugachukwu nearly ended up doing like a little spike for volleyball, hasn't he? He's nearly. I don't know. I don't know what he's doing. It's one of those where you think, oh, just let the collision happen, and he probably gets the free kick. Is it decision making? Is it bad luck? Is it again ability? It's probably a little bit of all three. I think that's partly why the game's been a strange one. Say we don't feel like we've been unlocked by them, do we? Apart from Gordon's grazing the bar and the post with shots that weren't going in. There's not been a lot for Dubravka to do, has there? So, yeah, we're scratching our heads yet again at individual mistakes and bits of bad luck. But it's not all luck, is it? I suppose it's decision making as well.
Yeah. We do believe that there was words exchanged between Brun Larson and Leslie the Chuck at half time. Nathan, who's often also on the podcast, tweeted saying on comms in my perfectly legal stream that JBL and Les had to be split up in the tunnel stroke dressing room as they're having a bit of a tear up during half time. So we'll perhaps leave that for whoever's on the debrief to kind of pick the bones out of that. I mean, great that we're seeing players show that passion, but just to kind of bring to an end the rapid reaction for Saturday night, Woody and Martin. To start with you, Woody. Does this kind of extend the kind of stay of execution for Scott Parker? I mean, he kind of set the team up in a different way. It seemed to be working until the inevitable happened. Looking at the kind of post match on Twitter, a lot of people are saying, it's still the issue. It's 6-6. You mentioned 6-6. Does this give Parker a bit of heart? Does it give ALK a little bit of heart, despite it being a 6 defeat in 6?
Well, it's given us a little bit of heart, hasn't it? We've actually made a fist of it again, and it's this constant being in games but not quite doing enough, and then like Martin says, there's a little errors and things along those lines. And I think there's an element of it's weird. It's like the especially Ugachukwu, like we were saying, like going for the challenge. It all seems a little bit weak. There's a lack of bravery there. You know what I mean? It's like, ooh, and obviously the only time he has kicked off, obviously, he's in the tunnel afterwards. You know what I mean? If he showed that level of intensity against the opposition, between the two of them, it may have bode slightly better. But I think sometimes we're a little bit weak in this division. Sometimes we can get easily bullied.
I think if you're going to have a fight, Woody, though, would it be Brun Larson or Voltemada that you'd take on?
Well, I think he's a bit spindly, isn't he, Voltemada? I'd have him down at his ankles. He'd be down like a shot.
And Martin, I think we were all kind of fairly unanimous in backing Scott Parker on Thursday when we recorded the preview show. Again, are you kind of seeing more evidence of that? Look, there's nobody else going to get a tune out of this side. Parker perhaps, in conversations with his coaches has decided to be a bit braver. It kind of was paying off. But you kind of thinking, look, take that into the Fulham game and you never know what can happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else people want him to do. He's made a load of changes, which is pretty damn brave going to Newcastle. It'd have been very easy to put, a 5-4-1 lineup out there and go, let's not get absolutely hammered. You could be uber critical of him with maybe the substitutions like Laurent coming on. But he's gone there with essentially a 4-3-3. He's mixed up half the side. And we've looked decent for half an hour before the sort of mad 10-15 minute that we just talked about. So, yeah, I'm not going to change my tune on this, really. I'm quite pleased. If we're not good enough, that's just the way it is. And if Burnley fans are thinking we're going to go into the Premier League, storm it, then they've not watched Burnley for the last 40 or whatever years, have they? It's just not going to happen. And I think I'm going to stick with it. I've seen nothing today that changes my mind. In fact, if anything, it makes that stronger because he's surprised me with his selection in a pleasant way, and the players look like they're up for it, and they look like they're up for a fight. And I have absolutely no problem with two players having a bit of a barney at half time because it shows they're bothered. It's when you lose that fight, metaphorically or literally, that you think, well, we're done. So, no, carry on, Scott, for me.
Definitely. Well, we'll leave it there. I noticed that Blackburn Rovers game was abandoned, and I just noticed a tweet that says it is December and we've had more abandonments than home wins. So no matter how badly you're feeling, you undefeated. Just think, if you'd have been born a few miles further down the M65, you could be a supporter of that rotten lot. We'll leave it. We'll leave it with that. We'll be back with a full debrief. I'm sure we'll dig into the goals, dig into selection, dig into Fulham next week, dig into the fight potentially between Ugo Chukwu and Brun Larson in the debrief. But until then, try and enjoy your Saturday night. It's nearly Christmas. There's probably crap on TV that's going to take your mind off it. But until we see you again, up the Clarets.